Hello everyone, welcome back to Talkin with Teachers. I'm James Morrello. I'm joined today by Mrs. Morrello. Ms. Morrello is my school guidance counselor and the choreographer for Pegasus Production Company. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you, James?
I'm pretty good, can't complain.
Glad to hear it.
Tell me, what is your role within Pegasus and what does it entail?
So, like you just said, I'm in the spring the choreographer for Pegasus Production Company, and then in the fall and spring I'm also the assistant director. So the fall show, most of my role involves working with our actors in partnership with Mr. Orozco, who's directing the show. So I'm really, once we get into the nitty-gritty of running and making choices as actors, I'm there to kind of support and give tips on things that the actors can try out to really help elevate their performance. Our other assistant director, Ms. Heidelberger, takes on more of the production aspect, so all the costumings, all the design elements, the playbill, things like that. So her and I are really working in tandem to support Mr. O. In the spring, I get to also choreograph, which is so much fun, especially at an all-boys school, because a large part of my role is also teaching you all how to dance. But having grown up dancing, it's really great to have that creative outlet through Pegasus to be able to, create and watch you guys bring the choreography to life. So I'm also helping with the acting, but the spring is much more dance-focused. I'm very lucky to have a great team at Pegasus, though, with all of our other faculty moderators. So I am just a small piece of a very great, important team that I love very dearly.
And as you mentioned, in the fall, we do a musical. And this spring, we're doing SpongeBob the Musical.
Yes.
How do you feel that is going to go?
I am really excited for SpongeBob. Selfishly, as a choreographer, I'm really excited about the challenge of having a large tap production number. At least in my time, that's something we've only really slightly dabbled in Godspell, so I'm excited for that challenge. But also for our student body, SpongeBob is I think a show that's going to really relate, because it's probably a show that a lot of you maybe grew up watching.
Absolutely.
Right? And the score actually has some really incredible, well-known artists that contributed to writing the song. So it's not necessarily, while I love Broadway songs and the traditional writers, there are people like Panic at the Disco, like the Plain White T's, Aerosmith. These are people that wrote songs for SpongeBob. So I think the music is also really going to resonate with our community, and especially our students. So I'm really hoping that for someone that maybe doesn't typically like theater, they'll really like SpongeBob just because the music is really modern and fun.
Yeah, and it's kind of on par with what we like to do, like a nice rock musical as we've done for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
How do you feel that your job also as a counselor ties into Pegasus and all of our shows?
So, yeah, that's a great question. I think that just theater as an art form is so much about personal expression. And obviously counseling, there's a lot of, tapping into emotions and talking about your feelings. And in theater, you have to do that as well. So just by the nature of what both of them are at their core, I think there's a lot of overlap. The really great thing about Pegasus is the way we've been able to connect it back to our learning and really creating important conversations in the last couple of shows we've done. So for 13, a couple of shows back, we got to have that, what we called Circle Time, where we talked about all the different issues that came up in our show, things like bullying, ableism, how we talk about women. And so I think having the counseling background really lends itself to being able to support in those conversations. But even as we look at our plays, right, there have been some pretty heavy topics that have come up in the past couple of shows we've done. I mean, Rumors, even though it was a comedy, had themes where they were, talking about it lightly, but there was mentions of suicide. And so we took that seriously as a cast and really had a dialogue around that and how we talk about that in real life. And then There Were None, another murder mystery, right? A well-known show. We are kind of trying to look at it as let's reflect on who these characters are as individuals. They're all a little quirky. They all have their own unique stories. And what we've been talking about as a cast is really, what would it have been like if this group of 10 people decided to work together instead of as individuals? And so I think there's a big opportunity for us at Pegasus to take some of the themes of our show and have really meaningful conversations. I think having the background in counseling helps me do that. But no matter what, I think that the whole company, whether you're an actor or on the crew, really cares about having those conversations so that our shows feel like they have more meaning.
I personally think it's incredible how many of our shows have tied into just like really important messages, like with 13, how after our in-school show, we went and talked with the freshmen and made those little circles to address the ideas of the show with them, and how when we did Gatsby, that tied into our sophomore curriculum of reading Gatsby in the fall. And it's just like, I feel like we address a lot of very important issues that you don't really see.
Right.
How do you feel you made an impact on the school with everything you do between school counseling, Pegasus, and student council?
I hope. I mean, that's a nice thing to say. I don't know. I think one of the best things for me about working at CBA, before I was here, I worked in high school in New York City. And the great thing about being in New York City is there are so many opportunities, but at least at the school I was in, students really got to go out into the larger New York community to do those things. And at CBA, we do a lot of that here, right? It's such a community-based school, and I really appreciate that about what we do here. So when I was trying to decide where I would go after New York, that was something I was really looking for, was having a really connected community. And I think being able to wear many hats has really made my job feel more fulfilling. But I think any impact, it's almost like hard for me to say that, right, that I've had is only because of the students that I get to work with. I think that, at Pegasus, right, it's an entirely student-run company, right? So a lot of it is actually the impact you all are making and me just helping you along the way. And the same thing with student council. I think after the pandemic, we've really done a great job of rebuilding and bringing back that sense of school spirit. I think this year and last year, we really are getting a great momentum with that. Yes. And so I am so proud to be a part of the person that is, overseeing those things. But I think the only way I can make an impact is if you guys are willing to do the work. And so I think I'm just really lucky to get to work with a phenomenal group of students in the counseling office, at Pegasus, at student council. Yeah, it's all you guys.
Last question. In the 3 years I've worked with you, you have very interesting tactics of relieving stress, all your weird movements and dancing around. Where did you come up with those? So the short answer is by going to counseling school, right? I was very fortunate and privileged to have such a great background in learning how to be a counselor. So I think that skill set is something that no matter where I've been, I've brought with me, and those are techniques that I think I'll carry with me wherever I go. So I feel like it's rooted in having a great background in education, which I'm very thankful for. But I think the thing that I've learned here is, in like the true LaSallian way, I really try to meet students where they are. And so there are some students who really enjoy those kind of de-stressing exercises, and then there are some that would cringe at the thought. Mm-hmm. And so I really try to be intentional when it comes to anything I'm doing with the school community, when I'm doing my individual work with students, of what do you need today, right? So sometimes students just need a place to vent, and I can be that sounding board. Sometimes students need something to help them de-stress, and I like to try to give them some of those techniques. A lot of times it's, how can I be your advocate, right? As a counselor, one of the best things I think about my job is the level of trust I get to have, and I don't take that for granted. There's a lot of trust in the counseling process. I've seen students on some of the hardest days of their life. I have seen students on some of their happiest moments, like when they get into college. And so being the person that supports them through all those steps, there's a level of trust you have to have with your counselor. And so I really think by building that and getting to know my students so well individually, at least I hope they feel that way,
I can help them determine what it is they need in that moment to help them come back to center so they can kind of move through the rest of their day, the rest of their life, go on and be good humans in the world. So I think, it's really just, let me know what you need, and I'll try to help you get there.
Awesome. That's amazing. Well, thank you for joining me today.
Of course. Thank you for
tuning
having
in,
me.
Colts, and we will see you in the next episode.